What's happening, traders and investors? It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth. It is Monday, January 24th. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing the market. It's in turmoil, obviously, so I'll give you my thoughts and perspective on the market. We're going to look at the broader market. We're also going to look at the Bitcoin and crypto market as well. But before we jump in, make sure to smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I am still in Florida, so not in my regular setup. Just got back from Miami. I had an amazing Bitcoin conference last week. And looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. I was posting a lot more in the POW Group private community for community members. And one thing that one of the POW Group members, I believe it was Graham, so shout out to Graham, he shared this with everybody. But essentially 4 hours ago, CNBC shared an article saying that the everything bull market is over and we are in a bear market. So generally somebody on stage at the Bitcoin conference made a joke that basically whenever CNBC says we should do something, they do the opposite. So when CNBC tells them to buy something, he said he sells. And that can be the same when they tell you to sell something. That generally marks the bottom. And if we just look at where SPY, if we go to the 4 hour chart, you can see here that basically in one 4 hour candle, we were able to make up all of that ground. So we had a low of 420.76. And from that low, essentially just about 4 hours after CNBC came out with that article, you can see here we jumped about 4%, so a little over 4% there from the low. And if I go back here to the POW Group community, I actually sent it out, I think it was December 27th. So we'll just head back here. We've also got some big tech earnings this week that we're going to discuss here in just a moment. But I want to go back to where I mentioned. So the thing is, when we wait for CNBC or mainstream media to tell us to do something, or if we're watching that as a gauge and market sentiment and to make investment decisions off of, it's generally too late. So if I go back here to December 27th, you can see here that I was basically shouting from the rooftops. I said it wasn't a bad idea to start considering a short position on SPY. So you can see here all the way back on December 27th, I mentioned SPY 475 psychological test incoming. We know that we were getting close to that 500 psychological level. If we look at the March 2020 lows at 218, we're up well over 100% on the S&P 500. So with that psychological level approaching, I said it wasn't a bad idea to start scaling into some short opportunities. And that was around the 475 psychological level. And we'll just bring up the SPY chart here as well, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what I was looking at. So we had some strong resistance on the S&P 500. And you can see here we had a bit of a rising wedge that was forming. And then we had a lower high and a lower low, which confirmed the daily downtrend. So as soon as we lost the low here at 456.60, we confirmed the daily downtrend. And then that was the signal to exit. We also lost that support trend line there that we had been respecting. And that was the signal. So even if you just exited on that loss of 468.94 support, that would have saved yourself about 8% of downside. So it's not uncommon to see these 10% pullbacks. We knew it was going to happen eventually. And a lot of people, a lot of analysts were calling for a 10% correction. And in my opinion, that is just healthy on the S&P 500. And we're not even anywhere close to weekly oversold at the moment. I am still bullish. So I was bear. The time to be bearish was back at 475 and coming up on that 480 test. And that's when I was telling people that I was starting to flip bearish, short-term bearish, and that we should be looking at potentially hedging plans. And now is the time where I'm flipping bullish. So when CNBC was calling, was telling everybody to sell and calling the bear market, I was actually telling everybody in POW Group this morning that I was looking at flipping bullish. And you can see here that we did have monthly support on SPY at 426.36. We did lose that support, but it looks like they just went targeting stop loss hunting, essentially is what they were doing. And we managed to close the day above monthly EMA 26 and 12. So we can close the month above EMA 12. That's going to be huge in my opinion. But again, these are things that we can expect when we've run hundreds of percent. And if we just take a look at SPY, right, from the low of 218, you can see here that we're still up over 100% from that low of the C19 scare. And if we just go to the daily time frame, one thing I wanted to highlight as well, we touched down on daily oversold today, and we were the most daily oversold since that C19 dump. And one thing a lot of people are failing to recognize is that, the end of the world seems near, but we're still well over 100% from where we were on that last daily oversold conditions from when we were this extreme on the RSI. We're still up over 100% on the S&P 500. So if we think about what has happened since March 2020, it's just been V-shape after V-shape after V-shape. And I said actually last week, so again, we'll just scroll down here on the thread here from the POW Group private POW Group community. Last week, I said, SPY hitting my 440 target based on the close. We could see a gap down on Monday, and then we see the daily oversold bounce, in my opinion. What happened today? We saw that gap down that I was talking about, and it ended up getting pretty extreme. We had the Fed hawkish stance. We know that interest rates are likely going to be increasing soon. So again, what's going to happen when these things actually happen, right? When interest rates actually go up, these are just things that we have to always be ready for and have a hedging plan. So again, I mentioned likely going to see a gap down. Fear and greed also was in extreme fear this morning. So generally, we do not see the top of bull markets end in extreme fear. Generally, it ends in hype and euphoria, and then we see the real crash, right? So I think we could see another lower high, at least on the weekly time frame. Potentially, we may even go back up to all-time highs. Some catalysts we were talking in Power Group today for that could be the big tech earnings this week. It could be the end of the C-19 pandemic as well. That's something that could create some hype leading into the summertime if we start to see, there's even talks that MJ could potentially prevent and fight. There was a Forbes article saying that CBD can actually fight and prevent C-19. And they've been hinting at that for about a year now. So it'd be quite ironic if that were to be the thing that saved us all. But that's something that could spark momentum in the markets if we return back to some form of normalcy, and we see that in the review mirror. Tech earnings, we could also see a Bitcoin ETF. The BlackRock just filed for a blockchain-based ETF. And as we know, they manage about $10 trillion in capital and investments. So they're the largest asset manager on the planet. And generally, Vanguard and BlackRock run the world. So when BlackRock does something, we should pay attention. And the fact that they're bullish on crypto and they're looking at an ETF has me bullish as well. If we see a spot ETF approved in the US, that would be very bullish for the markets, both the S&P 500 and crypto. I think that would create a lot of hype and euphoria. Whether or not we see that this cycle or the next bull cycle remains to be seen. Personally, I think that we're running at a time in this cycle. It's entirely possible. Anything's possible. But I could see this BlackRock ETF getting approved, creating some hype. And like I said, just being on the lookout for a potential reversal. I think that we could see potentially tomorrow, based on today's close, we could see the daily oversold bounce take place. Like I mentioned last week, we see that gap down today based on last week's close. And then we see the daily oversold bounce into this week. So as we close near the high of the day, it's entirely possible that we see an inside bar and tightening range tomorrow. But personally, I'm going to be looking for the daily oversold bounce to take place tomorrow. And if it's anything like we've been seeing over the course of this bull market, this everything bubble, we can probably just expect a V-shaped recovery back into an all-time high. Whether or not, I personally don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of people looking to take profits that miss taking profits. So here I gave, about a month ago, I gave the call out that we should look at potentially, entering a short position, at least, a hedge on some long-term positions. And sure enough, we see that daily downtrend confirmed. And now we had those people that missed the boat, so to speak, to sell. And then I think when we see a massive correction, once we see more continuation to the upside, we're going to see a lot of people lock in, a lot of people on YouTube talking about taking profits on Bitcoin the next time we see a significant move up. So just taking a look at crypto here, you can see here we've been bouncing all day. We had some 15-minute bull flags that confirmed across the board. And if we just take a look at Bitcoin, one thing I wanted to highlight as well, we had a POW Group member, can't remember who it was at the moment, it's escaping me, but we essentially were talking about how Bitcoin needed to confirm a daily uptrend before we got out of this, before we just expect more upside, right? We need to see these uptrends, and this is why daily uptrends, weekly uptrends, these macro level trends can really help us identify where we are, where we're going, and what we can expect. So I mentioned, I even drew it out. I said on Bitcoin, we're currently, and this was whenever I drew it, was back here on the 10th of January. So I said we had the low, we had the high at 44,453, and we were scouting that high or low compared to 39,650. We did not confirm. We were looking for the higher high. So if we would have broke above 44,453, that would have confirmed a daily uptrend on Bitcoin. and we could have been looking back toward that 50 to 55K area. But again, we failed. We didn't close over resistance. We didn't confirm the daily uptrend. And then we just rolled over. We lost key support there at 39,000. After we lost 39,000, we dropped with basically just following the market. So Bitcoin was following SPY for the most part. I think it overreacted a bit more, but that would have saved you 20% of downside if you would have just exited on that support here and the downward continuation of that downward trend. So this is why we use daily uptrends, weekly uptrends. That's why it's so key in using this to engaging market sentiment and where we're going. The more uptrends we have, the better, obviously. But again, we just can't assume things are going to happen. We need to look at the charts. If you're not a technical analysis person, if you're not into charts, consider checking out powgroup.ca. Like I said, we gave about a 1 month heads up. You don't have to be a financial or a chart guru in order to take advantage of some technical analysis. All this is just law of probability and odds and the most likely scenario. And the fact that we didn't confirm the daily uptrend, just gave us that heads up to be on the lookout that we could see more downside. And sure enough, once we lost that 39,000, that was the signal to exit any long positions. And then now would be the time to start entering back in bullish. Once again, daily time frame on Bitcoin, just take a look at where we are on the RSI. In terms of the daily time frame, we were down to pretty much in the teens. So we were down to about 20, and that was the lowest that we had seen again since March 2020. And again, we had the crypto fear and greed index at about 10. That is not what we typically see at the end of a bull cycle. Generally, we see a blow off top, euphoria, everybody and their dog is bullish and looking to buy more. So again, this is not what we see. This is not typical. But taking a look here at Bitcoin on the monthly time frame, we did manage to close the day above monthly EMA 26. So we're going to be watching this monthly candle. We've got 7 days left. So if we can close the month above EMA 26, that is going to be bullish in my opinion. And EMA 26 is sitting there at 33,415. If we lose 28,000, that's going to be a deal breaker. In my opinion, that's going to be bear market confirmed. And at that point, I think we will have to be extremely cautious. Just as a full disclaimer, I'm bullish on the short to medium term, but long term, I think we really need to be cautious, and that I think we could be entering a multi-year bear market on Bitcoin and potentially the S&P 500 and the overall broader market. So 28,000 is going to be key from here. And like I said, want to see us close above EMA 26 there on the monthly time frame, but we're still in a monthly uptrend on Bitcoin. And like I said, we have yet to lose EMA 26 since the March 2020 lows. That is going to be a crucial level of support to be monitoring going forward. Another trade that I mentioned this morning, I actually called it out on the crypto channel. So I'll just head over here. So Hive trying to bounce off 150 support USD. Not a bad entry here if looking bullish. I said I would likely recommend the scale in approach. So maybe enter a bit now, one at 125, maybe one at $1 if we get there. And then let's just take a look at the Hive chart. So I said testing 150 psychological. Here we are at 151. Not only did we have 150 psychological test, we also had support at 151, and we had a double bottom there at 152. So if you were looking for an entry, again, I mentioned it was a great opportunity to flip long. We had SPY that was starting to bounce. Bitcoin was starting to bounce. Bitcoin had got its hourly oversold bounce underway. So one thing I've been noticing is that SPY tends to lead the market downward. And then when we're going back up, Bitcoin and Tesla have been leading the market higher. So I was watching for the S&P 500 to give us clues on the downside, but I was watching for Bitcoin to give us clues on the upside today. And that's exactly what we got. So we started to see, and Hive is very correlated to the overall stock market right now, probably more so than actual Bitcoin or Ethereum. And you might be wondering why. They're a blockchain company. They mine Ethereum primarily. I just think it's because of correlations. And it's just they come and go. And that's just one that I've noticed significantly over the last year or so. So again, once I saw Bitcoin was bouncing, once I saw SPY, hit that 420 and then started to see its hourly oversold bounce, I just knew that it was likely going to provide a nice entry opportunity. Like I said, with a stop below 150, even if you were just entering there, potentially a scale in approach, or you were just looking to play off of that support level and double bottom, that would have saw about 23, almost 24% of upside. So congrats to the bulls who did take and pull the trigger on that trade, because that was a nice opportunity. We also had a gap that was there to fill. And speaking of gaps to fill, we'll look at SPY here on the hourly. So I mentioned that we had a gap to fill at essentially 438. and we started the hourly oversold bounce, and I said watch for a potential. We also had a 15-minute IHS. Yeah, so we had a 15-minute inverse head and shoulders and a 15-minute bull flag that confirmed. So 15-minute bull flag confirmed, IHS confirmed, and I said watch 439. I'll just bring that up here as well, just so everybody can see. So SPY is a potential inverse head and shoulders. I mentioned that at 3:19 p.m., so 2:19 Eastern time, so 2:19 Eastern. I said SPY is a potential inverse head and shoulders on the 15-minute time frame. 15-minute consolidation is underway, but a potential bull flag. And then if we look, I said IHS confirmation would basically fill the gap at 438. And then I mentioned here just a little bit below, we need follow through, but the bull flag target is 439. So again, if we just flip back here to what I was looking at, inverse head and shoulders confirmed, 15-minute bull flag, filled the gap at 438, and then look where we closed, right at 439. So couldn't have worked out any better. Like I said, I mentioned on Friday, based on the weekly close, that we're likely going to see a gap down, and then we would see extreme oversold conditions. Then we would see the daily oversold bounce likely at some point early this week. And that's exactly what we got. And again, if we just take a look at Bitcoin here on the hourly time frame, you can see here we touched down on that monthly EMA 26, and that was at 33,000. We got as low as 32,933 on Coinbase. And then just look at that face ripper of a rally off of that support. And that was the go signal. That was when all of our assets started across the board, EV growth. We had crypto, we had SPY, everything bouncing. Once that started to take place, we'll just look at SPY here on the hourly as well. So like I said, Bitcoin, a little bit of a glimpse into the future there. So if SPY pulls a Bitcoin move here into tomorrow, then that means that we could potentially maybe even gap up tomorrow. We do have resistance here at 448 next on SPY. On the hourly time frame, we've also got EMA 26 there at 442. So if we do top out, we have still yet to change the hourly trend on SPY or on Bitcoin. So that's something that we're going to need to do first thing tomorrow, in my opinion. If we do see a gap up, bulls are hoping for as big of a bounce as possible so that we can form that higher low. But lots of room now on that SPY chart and the Bitcoin chart to form those hourly higher lows. And like I said, if it's just anything reminiscent of what we've seen so far in this market, we're likely just going to anticipate another V-shaped recovery. Anything is possible at this point, but personally, I do think that we're getting close to the end of this bull cycle. The everything bubble is likely going to burst. I'm focusing right now on MJ long positions, so I'm looking at over the next couple of weeks and months, I personally don't hold any tech stocks at the moment. And the reason why is because look at how much QQQ is absolutely destroyed from its all-time high. So SPY was down over about 10%. QQQ was down almost 20% from its all-time high. So I told everybody for months now that I'm no longer interested in tech stocks. So my biggest play right now is going to be unloading. I think that alt season, I think Bitcoin's going to trend back up from here, but essentially what we're going to see is we're going to see alt season over the next few weeks and months. I believe that alts are going to outperform Bitcoin. We're going to see astronomical gains. There's going to be life-changing gains. And the biggest alt season, I think, in its history, is just around the corner. So what I'm going to be looking to do, my game plan is going to be to look to actually move some long-term positions as well in some mutual funds today. I was selling back here in my mutual funds. So today I bought back in some of those long-term positions on the S&P 500 just through different mutual funds that are a little bit more less aggressive. So again, I was exiting closer to resistance, closer to that that 480, that 500 psychological level on SPY, and now I'm back into those positions. Not 100%, but I did enter back about probably 25% of my mutual funds back into some balance and some aggressive funds in those retirement accounts. And like I said, I'm going to be looking to exit out of those over the next few weeks and months, and then I'm going to be looking to take profits on crypto as well. My plan is to start taking profits and looking for a short position on the S&P 500. It's going to be a longer term short position. And then what I'm going to be looking to do is take profits on a lot of altcoins. Personally, I'm not holding any Bitcoin, any Ethereum at the moment. I'm all out of those positions, and I'm looking at altcoins who have yet to eclipse their all-time high. And like I said, just focusing on those alts and alts in general, as I do believe that is going to be where the brunt of the gains are going to be going forward. So like I said, as a recap, going to be looking to sell those alts over the next few weeks and months. I'm going to be rotating a lot of those profits into beaten down MJ. And one thing I wanted to highlight here as well, I know a lot of people don't want to catch falling knives. So if you're not of the dollar cost averaging approach, if that's not your strategy, if you don't want to quote unquote catch a falling knife. There was an excellent opportunity here on a lot of our names. CGC actually closed the day out green, which I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. But if we take a look at Hexo here, we had a triple bottom there at 46 cents. And then if we look at the Canadian side, we had a double bottom there at 58 cents. So just off the lows there at 58 cents, you would have had about a 15%, 16% upside move, just entering off that double bottom. So Hive gave us a nice double bottom. Hexo gave us a nice double bottom. So again, if you're more into the trader mindset, swing trader, day trade, what have you, there's opportunities in both directions, right? And personally, I'm not looking to day trade MJ at the moment. I'm looking to load up on long-term positions. My father actually purchased his first round of cannabis stocks ever last week. He purchased about 10 in total, a mix of Canadian LPs and MSOs, some ETFs in there as well to get, to capture some of the retail versus, all the processes from seed to sale essentially. And that's why ETFs can be good in that scenario. But we had lots of opportunities across the board today. I know a lot of people in POW Group were appreciative of my comments last week and this morning, and we're able to get a lot of great entries there this morning. So again, short to medium term, I am flipping back to bullish. And next time we see CNBC start to flip their stance, if CNBC releases an article in a couple of weeks saying, markets are as bullish as ever, we're going up, that might be the time to start taking profits. So again, generally when the masses are thinking one thing, it's usually the opposite. So as a rule of thumb, when CNBC tells you to be worried and to sell, we should be looking at buying, and then on the flip side. So again, just keep in touch. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. You'll be notified on any future uploads. You'll always have my perspective. And if you want a little bit more tailored approach, if you want to join our community, you can check out powgroup.ca. Join us for a 1-week free trial. And again, I'll be letting everybody know when I'm going to be looking to potentially enter that SPY short position and when I'm going to be looking for a reversal of this bull market. So let me know in the comments below if you agree with me. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. Make sure to smash the like, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. I would appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next video.